Resident Evil 2 Remake is finally upon us. A complete remake made from the ground up based off the biggest game of its time, the original RE2. Released on January 21st, 1998 and having a $5 million advertising campaign, RE2 broke records. Records that were set by other games like Final Fantasy VII and Super Mario 64. So let's talk about everything we know about Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake will be releasing on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on January 25th, 2019. If you own a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X, you will have two performance modes that you can choose from in the settings of the game. You can choose to run the game with a 4K resolution at a stable 30 frames per second, or you can choose to run the game at a 60 frames per second on a yet unconfirmed resolution. I am assuming 1080p. Unfortunately, there has been no information involving the performance of the game on the base consoles. If you have played RE7 on a regular PS4 or Xbox One, then I will assume RE2 Remake will run the same. I only assume this because RE2 Remake is being built from the ground up using Capcom's RE engine. And no, the RE in RE engine does not stand for Resident Evil. It instead stands for Reach for the Moon. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, the RE engine is just the programming software made by Capcom and used to create RE7, the upcoming RE2 Remake, and Devil May Cry 5. That being the case, looking at the E3 demo of the game, you can clearly see that some of the programming assets from RE7 make their way into RE2 Remake, most notably the interactive notification pop-ups, the inventory menu, and a few other assets like the fuse box, and using your knife to cut tape in order to open up new areas to explore. Since the game is still in development, I have a feeling that most of these RE7 HUD elements are just in there for the demo, and will more than likely change in the final version of the game. However, this is just speculation on my part, I just wanted to mention it anyways. Let's talk more about the gameplay itself, starting with the difficulty settings for the game. While it has not been confirmed directly what difficulty settings we will have available to choose from, there will be in fact a harder difficulty option in the game. This can be confirmed by looking at the Typewriter. The Typewriter makes its return as your save station. In the classic games, you must have ink ribbons in order to save your game progress. In the demo of RE2 Remake, you clearly do not need ink ribbons in order to save. However, during an interview, one of the developers did mention that you can select a mode where ink ribbons are needed in order to save and can be found throughout the mini areas. This mode he mentioned is obviously a harder difficulty setting. The game was more than likely set on an easier difficulty setting for all the reporters and media people that more than likely don't play video games, that way they can survive. The game itself will also adjust to how well you're playing. If you're cleaning house and destroying every single enemy in the game, then the game will adjust and add enemies in locations that would normally not be there in order to try to kill you. I personally find this interesting and is a good way to keeping replayability fresh. Many windows of the RPD are also broken and will need to be boarded up in order to keep the infected from entering the building. Boards can be found throughout the game and you will need to choose wisely which windows you will barricade, so board up areas that you feel like you might be returning to more often than others. Because while it's not seen in the demo, it has been stated by one of the developers that many enemies will come through unbarricaded windows as time goes by, making those areas into death traps if you're unprepared. I personally believe him also, since the zombies in this game are extremely persistent and can take loads of damage before going down. Zombies will follow you even if you go through doors. They will burst them open in order to eat you. Headshots with your base handgun will not take them down with one shot either. Looking at multiple gameplay footage, I was able to conclude that 3 headshots from Leon's base Matilda handgun will take a zombie down. This will be an issue when you have more than 3 or 4 zombies moving in on your location. Luckily, you can shoot their limbs off, like their legs, in order to give you enough time to run away. I do not recommend doing the classic RE strategy of pulling your knife out and slashing them once they're on the ground, since your knife can break now, but I'll go into more details on the knife in a bit. The shotgun will definitely be your go-to weapon when you're in a pinch. You can finish zombies off by shooting them in the head with one shot. However, Like the classic games, you need to wait until they're very close in order to blow their heads completely off. Otherwise, if done too early, they will survive the blast and will try to eat you even if they have only half of their head. Pretty disturbing and scary stuff if you ask me. There will be also upgrades in the game, much like the classic RE2, like side pouches that increases your inventory by 2 slots, and weapon upgrades, which was not seen in the demo, but they are available in the game as well. And since we're talking about the weapons, you will not be able to reload your weapons in the inventory menu like the classic games as well. Reloading has to be done in real time. Fortunately, you can switch between your weapons fairly quickly in real time by using your D-pad. So once you're empty on your handgun, switching to your shotgun might be your best bet if you find yourself in a bad spot. Your inventory menu does pause the game, so that's nice at least, especially when reading files or when you need to heal up with herbs or first aid spray. As of right now, that's the only way you can heal yourself is by opening up the inventory menu. Healing cannot be done in real time with a press of a button. Mixing of herbs also makes its return, with the red herb acting as an increase to your maximum health. Now back to the combat knife. It does indeed take up one of your inventory spots. You can quickly pull it out in real time and use it, much like Resident Evil 4 and 5. You can also use it as an escape item if you are ever grabbed by an enemy. If you use your knife this way, it will be left stuck on the enemy that you used the escape on. The knife can only be retrieved if the enemy is downed or killed, so be careful when you do this. Like I mentioned before, the combat knife can indeed be broken over time if used too much. It actually has a durability bar on the item when you open your inventory menu. Don't worry, however, you can indeed find other knives throughout the areas. Gunpowder also makes its return from RE3. You will be able to mix different types of gunpowders together in order to make ammo for your weapons. I personally like this since sometimes you would rather have more shotgun rounds than handgun rounds. And finally, let's talk a bit about the different campaigns in the game. 2 extra game modes that appeared in RE2 Classic are making the return to the remake as well. Those 2 game modes are Tofu, where you play as a human-sized block of tofu armed only with a knife, and a special story mission involving Umbrella operative Hunk, where you play as the only surviving operative member as you attempt to escape the city with the G-Virus sample. How these modes will be unlocked, or perhaps available right away, is not known as of right now. And finally, both Leon and Claire will be playable characters and will have their own unique stories. The developers did not want to go into many details on either one of their campaigns, much more with Claire, but they will have lots of differences. Of course, their stories will cross paths in certain points, but other than that, that's all the facts on Leon and Claire's story. I personally believe that the reason we are not seeing any of Claire's gameplay is because anything they show from Claire's side of things will be from different areas that Leon will not have access to. Perhaps Claire explores more of Raccoon City while Leon explores more of the RPD. The best thing about RE6 is the fact that there are 3 completely different campaigns in the game, and I can see that actually happening with Leon and Claire's campaign. There is going to be lots and lots of areas to explore in RE2 Remake. I say this because the developers did say that the playable 30-ish minute demo, which consists of almost fully exploring the first floor of the RPD, part of the second floor, and a bit of the third floor, was supposedly, according to them, a very, very small part of the full experience that the game has to offer. And that has me very excited. Anyways, that's all the gameplay information I've gathered as of right now. There has been a few other details I chose to leave out due to spoiler reasons, but perhaps I'll make a separate video for those. If you enjoyed watching this video, feel free to leave a like. I enjoy talking about the video games that interest me greatly, and Resident Evil is a franchise that my whole family and I enjoy greatly. If you're new to this channel, feel free to check out my RE fan films if you wish, and newly added Resident Evil 2 HD graphics PC playthrough. And like always, rock on.